Hey guys, what's going down? My name's Aeriodon, your commissioner of the Delta Battle League, and today we're here for our Week 1 recap of Season 2 of the DBL. We did unfortunately have one more forfeit, but that's a lot of progress over last season, and we're going to start with some different news other than going straight to the matches. So if you are not aware, we did go through and replace some of our coaches who are a little bit more inactive. But we do have one more to go over this week. We're not going to be restarting the season or anything, it's just one person. But Tiki1833, head coach of the Cincinnati Umbreons, has resigned from the league. Messaged me on Twitter, and we figured all that out. But his assistant coach, Sharp Dress Gaming, will be stepping up as the head coach. He'll be renaming the team the Minnesota Wild Charge. Everything will be the same. The team will remain the same, and everything else will not be affected. The Week 1 match of that team against the Detroit Gligars will be just a forfeit, since this whole week was a lot of confusion for them. But they'll start out fresh Week 2 against the St. Louis Swellows, the J Blitz 34. And hopefully for the rest of the season, everything can run pretty smoothly. Other than that, though, we'll hop into the battles now. Our first matchup is the Boston Buizels taking on the Denver Rapidash. The Boston Buizels pulling out a 2-0 victory over the team led by TCF Eric. Diggletdreams and the Boston Weasels had a lot of success with Aeriodon getting 2 stats kills, as well as Halucha getting the crit high jump kick on the Skarmory when it may have mattered. And just pulling through, and there was a lot of adversity, and they were really seen to be down in the early game, but ended up pulling through and pulling past the Denver Rapidash to start the season 1-0. Next up, we have the Lexington Laritar taking on the Scottsdale Scolipedes, Shiny Marenoc reviving his channel for the DBL. A very good content so far. We have the Laritar picking up a 4-0 victory, the largest margin of the week, over the Scolipedes. Garchomp putting in a lot of work with two status kills as well. I can't talk today, I'm sorry guys. 2 status kills. Unfortunately, Suicune did end up getting hacked down completely by the Jirachi. I mean, there's a point where you expect the flinch hacks from Jirachi, but 4 in a row, that's a lot. Also, the Megalodios ended up being able to set up with Calm Mind at the end of the game and finish off the game despite the Perish Song Lapras, which potentially could have taken down the Megalodios if it had a little more natural bulk to it. Next up, we have the Chicago Cloysters taking on the Kansas City Nidokings, one of our replayed matches. Not a whole lot of change, as the results stay the same. Chicago Cloysters picking up a 2-0 victory over the Kansas City Nidokings. Teams were very much the same in almost every aspect, except a few minor changes. The Kansas City Nidokings do now have Mega Pinsir they brought to this battle. And the Chicago Cloysters did bring Spiritomb. I believe they did not bring in the original playthrough. Maybe not Bisharp either. I may be off, but I believe that those are the only changes. And the Nidokings did as well. Maybe they didn't change anything else. I'm not sure. I don't exactly remember the original sets. But the Cloysters did show that their team is basically just a better matchup, pulling out another 2-0 victory against basically the same team again. One spot early on where they could have potentially made things even easier if they had set up a third Dragon Dance with the Mega Gyarados. I don't remember exactly. It was the Crawdont, I believe. But it was going down to bird damage regardless. If they had set up another Dragon Dance, they could have swept the rest of the Nidokings team with a Waterfall or Crunch. But still pulling out the victory, not any criticism there. A very well played game by both opponents. Next up, we have the St. Louis Swellows taking on the Omaha Omastars. This is a match that was played the original time, but Colton or OGHypnoToad of the Omaha Omastars wanted to keep the match the same. So this is the way it was played, the original playthrough of Week 1, with the St. Louis Swellows picking up a 4-0 victory over the Omaha Omastars. I guess I said earlier that the Lexington Laritar picked up the largest margin of victory, but the St. Louis Swellows also did pick up a 4-0. So 2 4-0 victories this week, tying for first. But in that match, just a lot of offensive power from the Swellows that the Omaha Omastars could not really counter. Choice Scarf Raikou was their counter to Talonflame and Greninja XY, but unfortunately went down a little bit earlier than he would have liked, and ended up leaving some gaping holes in his team that mons like Terrakion, Thundersea, even Greninja XY early on could break through and end up defeating the Omaha Omastars, who had one of the best drafts, but unfortunately just not the best matchup against the St. Louis Swellows. Our fifth final game here, we have the Chicago Cubchoos taking on the Tampa Bay Duskulleers. My own Tampa Bay Duskulleers. I can go into a lot of detail about this match, and I probably will, just because I have time, really. But the Chicago Cubchoos brought a really a defensive team with the Mega Slowbro Chansey core, as well as Blastoise, who's also a lot of added bulk. But something that really threw me off, I'll go from my point of view, I guess, was the Choice Scarf Azelf. I did not expect it at all, and ended up taking Weavile out from full health almost early in the game when it really, really mattered, and Weavile was really important to get to the match, as it was my focal point for planning. After that, Weavile's down, there wasn't really anything left to take on that Chansey Mega Slowbro core. Could have potentially lowered it to a 2-0 deficit if we had just thought of the potential switch-in with the Slowbro when we were up against the Chansey, but for some reason I just hit Ice Punch because I feel more comfortable with Ice Punch. I guess I'm luckier with it. Somehow I feel luckier with it. But the Duskulleers also bringing the Toxic Spikes Cofagrigus lead. Not lead, but it was I planned on having it as my lead. It just didn't work out that way. Ended up leading with Gliscor, I believe. But he did not bring the Landorus Theory, which is something that really threw me off. Must have been just too much of a ice weakness with the Weavile having a priority Ice Shard, which even if he was Scarfed, he would not have obviously been a speeding priority. But just a little bit of a blown match on my point. Hacks, I'm not going to blame it on hacks, but there were a few points. The crit X's around the Mega Metagross. I don't remember what else. The Fire Blast Burn, but that's something that's expected. It's 30%, and I can't really complain about that. There was one more spot I can't really remember offhand, but it's not important at all. Maybe it was the crit Side Shock on the Rotom-Wash at the end of the game, but that was really nothing. We were already down 3-0. Couldn't really come back from that. The Mega Slowbro was set up too much defensively for Rotom-Wash to really make an impact on that matchup. But other than that, a nice 3-0 victory for the Chicago Cubchoos, tying record-wise for first in the division, and just one spot in the differential behind the outright lead. And finally, we have just the Detroit Gligars picking up the 3-0 victory over the Minnesota Wild Charge, or Cincinnati Umbreons. Technically the Cincinnati Umbreons in Week 1, but from now on, it will be the Minnesota Wild Charge and Sharp Dress Gaming, with a forfeit there. We'll take a look at the divisional standings, and then we will look at our matchups for each Week 2. We're not going to look at the MVP race because Diggletdreams, Math Threats from Diggletdreams, he'll be covering that in an entirely different video, just like he did for Week 1 of the original playthrough. But I'll move my cursor out of the way for you guys. In the Kalos division, in the Gold Conference, we have the Detroit Gligars on top with the forfeit victory there over the Minnesota Wild Charge, and then the Kansas City Nidokings hanging out in the middle at 0-1 and -2 differential. If we head over to the Hoenn division in the same Gold Conference, we have the Lexington Laritar sitting atop with the 1-0 record and the +4 differential, and the Chicago Cloysters not far behind at 1-0 as well, but only the +2 differential. And the Scottsdale Scolipedes losing, even though it was a 4 differential, the game was a little bit closer than that shows at 0-1 and -4. Heading down into the Silver Conference in the Kanto division, we have what looks like it might shape up to be the toughest division in the league. We have the St. Louis Swellows narrowly on top at 1-0 with the +4 differential, and the Chicago Cubchoos just 1 differential point behind at 1-0 +3, and the Tampa Bay Duskulleers, my very own team, 0-1 at -3. Not a very comfortable position, knowing that I have 2 of the best battlers in the league and the best teams in the league sitting on top of me, but hopefully we can face some adversity. We have to beat out one of them at least to gain a playoff spot. And if we head over to the Johto division, we have the Boston Buizels, coached by the one and only Diggletdreams, at 1-0 +2. The Denver Rapidash at 0-1 -2, and the Omaha Omastars sitting at the bottom, but probably not uncomfortably because he's a very confident guy at 0-1 -4. And I'm sure all of these teams that are at the bottom will turn things around shortly, find ways to fix the things they have not been capitalizing on, and find ways to win in the long run. Look at our Week 2 matchups. We have our first game is the Chicago Cubchoos at the Lexington Laritar. Our next matchup is the Omaha Omastars at the Denver Rapidash, a matchup of 2 PBL opponents. They also played the playoffs of Season 1. Next up, we have the Kansas City Nidokings versus the Tampa Bay Duskulleers. That's a neutral match in Nashville. None of these ats or like the home and away or neutral sites really matter to any of you. I just like having it around for just the feel of it. And I know a few of our guys actually incorporate that into their videos, like Shiny Marenoc, very into the whole where they're playing. Next up, we have the Scottsdale Scolipedes at the Detroit Gligars. That should be a good matchup. The Boston Weasels taking on the Chicago Cloisters, 2 undefeated teams. One of them will be ahead of the, or on top of the Johto division at the end of that match, and one of them will not be undefeated or on top anymore. And finally, to round out the week, I guess I should probably change this. We have the Minnesota. I can't. Where's my S? There we go. No. Oh, this is really awkward. I suck at typing. That's really embarrassing. But trying to talk and type at the same time is not easy. We have the Minnesota Wild Charge at the St. Louis Swellows. A matchup of a team that has yet to really prove themselves so far. They've never played a match in the DBL last season or this season. So, finally, the team that was originally the Cincinnati Umbreons will take on their battle and see what that draft, which looks pretty intimidating, can do in the league. That is pretty much that for our Week 1 recap. If you guys have any suggestions on things we should change, I know I talked really fast through all of this, but I want to cover as much as you can in as short a time as possible, because I don't want to have to sit here and wait for this to render for like 4 hours, because it will. I'm not kidding. My computer is really slow. But other than that, guys, any suggestions, leave them down in the comments. If you enjoy, be sure to leave a like, share, support, subscribe. If you are enjoying DBL content and you're not already subscribed, if you want to see more in the future, I'll talk a little slower now because I'll try to get it closer to 12 minutes so that we have a nice even number. But other than that, just check out the DBL Twitter at DBL_League for all of the DBL updates and scores, or not scores, but some scores and matchups. And the DBL will be back later. Catch you guys soon. Goodbye. 12 minutes. There we go.